This is a Greek dish called Spanakorizo, I think. You're going to need a shallot, 4 cloves of garlic. I'm using fresh parsley, but you could also use dill, baby spinach. Spinach is going to be the main vegetable in this. Diced tomatoes, tomato paste, stock, olive oil, and butter. You're also going to need rice. I'm going to make my own rice mixture. For protein, I'm going to use white beans and mung beans. You'll want to go through the beans and look for any rocks or any beans that are broken or discolored and pull those out. I have almost half a cup of white beans, and I'm just going to fill up the rest with mung beans. I'm just using them for variety. You don't have to use 2 different kinds of beans if you don't want to. I put in 2 cups of stock, or water is fine. I'm going to have it cook on pressure cook for an hour. I'm going to cut the shallot into pieces that are really small, maybe 1/4 of an inch, a millimeter. And 4 garlic cloves. The original recipe called for, I think, 2 cloves of garlic, but 4 sounded better to me. And then this is a recipe that is basically a tomato spinach rice recipe. And I always want to try and have as many vegetables as possible in my dinners, so I also pulled out a lemon, a yellow squash, and an eggplant, just in case I feel like adding those in with the spinach. The recipe recommends 2 large bags of baby spinach, but I did 2 to 3 handfuls of spinach. I'm gonna wash these off and then dry them and then stack them on top of each other so that it's easier to cut them really small. That would be my supervisor. This is 3.8 ounces of spinach. So about 4 ounces of spinach is what I'm going to be adding into the dish. I pile up the leaves on top of each other so that when I do cut them, they end up all about the same size, and it goes faster. It may not seem like it when you're stacking all the leaves together, but it feels like it goes faster to me, so I guess that's what matters. Normally in the original recipe they just throw the spinach in, but I need to make, when I cook things, I put in, how do I say this? I make pieces really, really small when I put them in, so even before they're cooked, I know that they're small enough for me to swallow if I had to swallow them whole. And that way I never have to worry if something has cooked down enough or to try and pull it out when it's already hot and make it smaller. It's already small when it goes in, so it should be just fine by the time it's done cooking. I'm gonna do about 5 or 6 long strips, turn it to the side, and do tiny pieces that are about, everything ends up being about anywhere from 1 millimeter to 1/2 inch in size. I'm also going to take a large bunch of parsley, about 1/4 to 1/2 cup worth. It's winter time right now, and parsley is a cold weather herb, so at the grocery store it's been pretty cheap, less than $1. I'm going to start melting a tablespoon of butter. The original recipe for this uses a lot of olive oil because with the amount of vegetables that are in there, you need the fat from the olive oil to help cook the vegetables. I'm going to use butter, and then I'm going to add in olive oil as well. Only about 1/4 cup of olive oil. As soon as the butter's melted, I'm going to add in the shallot. I'm gonna let the shallot start to get translucent. And I'm also gonna add a little bit of salt on top. The salt will help draw out the water that's in the vegetables. I'm going to do about 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt at a time, and by the end it will have, by the time the whole dish is together, it'll end up being a full teaspoon of salt. It's been about 2 minutes. I'm going to add in the garlic. And as soon as you can start to smell the garlic in the room, add in the rest of the vegetables, the spinach and the parsley. A little bit more salt, and then the spinach. We're going to saute the spinach for about 5 minutes, but if you look, this doesn't look like 3 handfuls of spinach, and if you want, you can add even more in. It's up to you. And don't forget to put the rest of the salt in to draw the rest of the water out of the spinach. I put in the yellow squash just to add more vegetables in, because it's going to have diced tomatoes and tomato paste in. It's going to end up with a lot of tomato flavor, so I'm not worried that the squash is going to alter the flavor a lot. And speaking of, one can diced tomatoes. If you feel like these pieces are too big, what I've done before is I've taken the can of diced tomatoes, put it in a food processor, and blitzed it just like 1 or 2 quick pulses to get the tomato chunks down to be really small. I'm comfortable with this size diced tomatoes, but I totally understand if you're not. Next, I'm going to need a tablespoon of tomato paste. And then next, we're going to need chicken stock. Gonna do 2 cups of chicken stock. And then I'm gonna add in the rice mixture. The recipe calls for a 1/2 cup of rice. This is my own personal mixture. I'm gonna do a tablespoon of Basmati, and then I also add a tablespoon of Quinoa, because it has different nutrients than Basmati rice. I also do a tablespoon of red lentils. They'll help with protein. And I'm gonna do a tablespoon of I'm not going to say this right, Moong Dal. It's, red lentils are the inside of larger lentils, and this is the inside of a mung bean. But they're both just other sources of protein. I do a tablespoon of millet, and then finish it off with another tablespoon of rice. And lentils. And then I'm going to add it in and cover and cook for about 30 minutes. To add to the flavor profile, you could add in a 1/4 cup of white wine before it cooks for 30 minutes. I'm also going to add in lemon zest of an entire lemon, as well as some chopped up cherry tomatoes and green onions. I'm going to add in the beans that were cooked in the Instant Pot. And when I serve it, I'm going to have some feta on top.